Why do we come here? This is where our son is. It's his new home. I try to maintain it. I believe that there will always be the need to come here. As long as I'm here, I make sure that it looks nice and maintained.
He was a young man. He didn't die at the age of 90. He was only 25.
In June of 2012, Irit and Asher Shachar received a knock on their front door. It was every parent's worst nightmare.
We hear the doorbell ring, and they kept ringing the doorbell of our front gate over and over again. It was summer. I wasn't even wearing a shirt, just boxers. I open the gate, and standing in front of me are 3 officers. The sun was so bright. I look at them, and they say, Omri. I asked, what do you have to do with Omri? You're in green uniforms. Omri wore a white uniform. He tells me, Omri was killed. At that very moment, I went silent. I couldn't speak. I stood aside. He tried to hug me, but I pushed him away. He asked if my wife was home. They go in, and all of a sudden, you hear a scream. And then I understand they had told her. I think that was the hardest moment of my life.
I screamed and I screamed. They ran to me because they were afraid I'd fall down the stairs. And then, out of nowhere, I said to them, I don't know how or why. Maybe it came from above, maybe from Omri. I asked them to retrieve his sperm.
I went over to the commander, and he starts flipping through his documents. And I ask him, is notifying us that we can retrieve our son's sperm on the checklist of things you need to tell us? And he says, yeah, but we only are required to notify widows, not parents. I said, how could that be?
And that's how this 10-year saga began.
Irit and Shachar were able to successfully petition a judge to harvest their son's semen. But ever since that moment, they've been in a lengthy battle with the state of Israel.
The Shachars wanted to buy an egg from a donor, hire a surrogate mother to carry it, and then create a grandchild with their dead son's sperm, a child that they would ultimately raise as their own. But the state has argued that it's unethical to allow a baby to grow up with a dead father and an anonymous mother. It's this debate that's caused waves across the state of Israel, where almost all young men and women are required to serve in the army, and death is no stranger.
In the past, when a soldier died in the army, that was the end of the story, the end of the chain. There was no option to continue their family line. Today, technology allows for sperm retrieval and genetic continuity, so it's only natural that society should catch up and adjust national policy accordingly.
Today, scientific advances have made it so that sperm can be collected for up to 48 hours after someone has passed away. Usually, doctors do so by surgically removing the testicles and harvesting sperm cells. The process has triggered ethical dilemmas across the world, but since 2003, Israel's allowed for sperm to be retrieved from fallen soldiers. At first, only the surviving female partners were allowed to use the sperm through insemination or IVF to have a baby. But in the last decade, there have been numerous instances of parents donating their son's sperm to single women who want to have a child.
But until the Shachars began their fight, there wasn't much knowledge about the process, and many families didn't even know it was an option.
When an IDF soldier dies, this is what the army gives you. They gather all of his badges and display them like this. It's horrifying. All the sperm retrievals of fallen soldiers that have been carried out in recent times are because of her. Every sperm retrieval has been because of Irit Shachar, because Irit Shachar brought it to public attention. And because of her, there are lots of parents who were able to retrieve their children's sperm. And because of that sperm, there's hope. There's a reason to keep living, a chance for continuation.
Now, certain Israeli lawmakers are fighting to streamline the process and legalize it. Knesset member Tzvi Hauser is pushing forward a bill to make that happen.
The bill clarifies 3 basic things. The first is the will of the deceased. What he wants. We want to clarify if the deceased would have wanted children after his passing or not. We will make sure there is a process in which every soldier signs a document saying what he wants before he enlists. The second thing we are making sure to take into consideration is the well-being of the child that will be produced from the deceased sperm. The State of Israel has made the philosophical decision that it is perhaps even better for a single woman to get a sperm donation from a fallen soldier with a family that wants to be involved in the child's life than to just pay for a sperm donation from a sperm bank where the future child will have no idea who his father was. The third aspect of this bill is that we want to make sure that both the parents of fallen soldiers and widows are informed the sperm of their fallen loved one can be retrieved after his death and used to make a child in the future.
But there are also restrictions in this bill.
It is important to note that grandparents will not be able to use the sperm of their fallen child to raise a grandchild on their own. The only true legal guardian will be the biological mother that used his sperm as a donation to have a child, the mother who birthed the child and raises it. This means the grandma and grandpa will remain the grandma and grandpa. They won't be able to be parents.
It's highly likely that this legislation will pass, and if it does, it will be the first in the world. Israel will likely pave an easier path in the future for other nations trying to help families who have lost their loved ones. But no matter what, there's certainly no easy fix for the pain and the loss.
My eldest daughter got married and already has 2 kids. But Omri always stays 25 years old. We're stuck in 2012. Everyone moves forward in their life, and we're stuck inside a bubble. Sometimes his friends from the army, from school, come visit with their kids. On one hand, you're happy for them. On the other hand, it eats you alive.
Did Omri want kids?
For sure. We spoke a lot about kids, of course. How many kids? He said that he wanted 5 kids. 5 kids.
How do you think he would feel about what you're doing?
What I say is what he used to say to me. Mom, whatever will make you feel good, whatever will help you get through this journey and will help you, I will be with you, 200%.
The child won't replace Omri. There's only one Omri. He's his son. God willing, he will have a mother. We will help raise him. That's the dream, that his legacy will continue. And his kids will know who he was, because there's a lot to know. They'll be proud of him. They'll be proud to come into the world thanks to Omri.
בזכות עומרי.